can get us on the phone, 412-407-2PGH, 412-407-2PGH, or you can hit me up on Twitter at RiverTalkPGH. Tyler, you're on Twitter as well. What are you? You're...
_ you're on TV.
Okay. _ you're on TV. So there you go. So you can hit him up. You can hit myself up as well at RiverTalkPGH or 412-407-2PGH. You can always call in, join the conversation, and I will lead you in the right direction. So it's been a sad week here in the United States. It just seems like one thing after another, and I'm a little dismayed by the response to the shooting, the tragic shooting that happened in Orlando. And it seems like everybody is so quick to just jump to their talking points. Nobody really even takes a second to... there are some, but a lot of people, they don't even take a second to consider the victims or think about the situation. And everyone's just so rigid and so firm in their political beliefs. And sometimes you could still stick to your principles, but maybe pause a minute and listen. And it kills me because instantly, this event happens and I turn on the news because I'm interested in what's going on. 50 people have vanished from the earth and many others were injured. So I turn on the radio to listen on my way into work to a talk program, and the host of the show was talking to his guests about how this shooting will influence the upcoming presidential election and how that's going to swing voters one way or another based on the information that comes out. And I'm thinking, my God, 50 people just died. 50 people died, and you're worried about blips on a poll for the president of the United States? 50 people died. I'm looking at the posts on Facebook and Twitter, and immediately I posted something about the event, about what happened, and it wasn't anything political. It just was, this happened, and this is going on, and immediately I get comments back about how, this is why we need to get rid of safe zones. This would never happen in a safe zone. If people had guns, they could stop the guy. And then you've got the other people on the other side. We need to stop the guns. Gun control. We need more gun control. And then you've got the people who are truly anti-Muslim, and then you've got the people who are breaking their arm, throwing their shoulder out, patting themselves on the back about how they are so encompassing and they're so politically correct that they would rather go after other religions to try to somehow make Islam look better because the guy happened to be Islamic. It's almost bizarre how people try to bring in things that aren't germane to the conversation at all to try and prove their point. But everyone goes to these sides immediately. And people are so quick to jump to their political persuasion, so quick to post that meme, that zinger meme, or a picture of a gun and say, oh, this isn't banned, but item X is, that they don't even take the time to reach out to the victims or anything. And then you hear people also on Facebook and Twitter chastising those who are because they're not in favor of allowing transgenders to go in different bathrooms. Somehow that means that they're not allowed to feel compassion when somebody dies. And it just is bizarre to me, the way we're going. And it comes right down to our presidential candidates. We've got a slide here. It shows the tweets side by side. Hillary Clinton posting basically that you shouldn't be allowed to get a gun if you're under federal investigation, while she's under federal investigation for basically either being extremely incompetent or extremely malicious as a Secretary of State, yet she's running for a promotion. So she's a hypocrite. You've got Donald Trump, who's gloating about drawing a connection to ISIS when 50 people just died. 50 people just died, and we're gloating on Facebook. We're pounding our chest over our goddamn political beliefs. Who gives a shit? Who really cares? 50 people just died. 50 people. And what's, to me, the most tragic thing about this whole scenario is because everybody is so rigid. Everybody's so quick to jump to their battle stations to defend this point of view or defend that point of view that they're unwilling to even communicate with one another. And now we're in a situation where nothing's going to change. 50 people have died in vain, and we're going to have another mass shooting in another month because you people are so goddamn fucking arrogant that you can't just pause for a minute and listen to one another. Find any kind of common ground. Even if you don't find any common ground, just at least be willing to pretend like you do, to maybe try to come up with some sort of answer to the situation, understand why this is happening in America. And we know the reasons, or some of the reasons in this situation. There's speculation that the killer was a homosexual himself, and maybe he was self-loathing, and maybe that has led to a series of events that caused this terrible, terrible assault. But there's a bigger problem in America beyond just this one particular instance. How many shootings are we going to allow to happen because we're too damn arrogant just to listen to one another, just to take a moment to pause? We're just so quick to run our mouths. We want to be the first one to get our opinion out there and show how intelligent we are, or how committed we are to the cause, or how oppressed we are as gun owners, or how oppressed we are as non-gun owners because we have to deal with the gun owners. It's just this vicious cycle, and just nothing gets done. Tyler, you lived in Orlando for a time. Just moved back from Orlando. So you know people down there. It must have been a frightening thing for you to see this happen in a place that you at one point called your home.
No, yeah. I mean, I spent most of that morning texting, calling, trying to just contact basically everybody I knew. I mean, yeah, and although I know the representatives, the mayor, and everything. I mean, they're all great people. I mean, it's a very good community down there. I'd say that like everyone is very compassionate. Everyone's kind of very level-headed. I mean, it is weird to see something like that.
It's sad that we're so ingrained in these rigid political beliefs that we're so quick to arm ourselves that we've become immune to a mass killing.
Facebook just pissed me off
we've become immune to a mass killing. Yeah. No one, to be honest, I shouldn't say most, half of the people on social media, they don't give a damn that 50 people just died. They're more concerned about defending their point of view.
No, it's horrible. And I mean, like you said, I luckily I didn't know anyone that was killed. I do know a few people though that were affected by friends that were killed. And I mean, it is really tragic. And the fact that people, like you said, like are either going to the left talking about gun control, or to the right, or saying that like they're gonna take our guns away. This guy was a crazy terrorist. Like we just do need to just take a break and maybe just mourn.
Think for a minute.
Just think. No, I agree.
Mourn, and then not only that, come together and have an actual dialogue. No side is going to get everything that they want.
No. It's never been like that, though.
It has never been that way. No. But if you come together and have a conversation and put some real thought into the problem, then maybe you'll get somewhere. I look at Bob Casey, for example. He is the day of the shooting, or the next day. I don't have the time right in front of me, but he comes out with this new bill that he wants to push for more gun regulation. Well, it's just such a reactionary thing. And he wants to target people who have committed hate crimes. And maybe that's a good idea, but then again, what signifies a hate crime? And at that point, do you not have the right to defend yourself? I don't know. I think it's reactionary. I look at someone like Tim Murphy, on the other hand. He's been talking about the need for mental health reform for years. He truly believes it. The guy is a doctor. He's an actual doctor. He's served in the military in that capacity. He understands mental health. He's somebody who is learned on the situation. He's someone who's compassionate about it. And he didn't just throw this out there the day after a mass shooting to try to get some. I don't know if Bob Casey's trying to get some PR, if he really cares about this, but either way, it's just so reactionary. And I don't know how much thought could be put into something that you just throw out there after a mass shooting. Were you waiting? One or two things happened. It's either reactionary or he was just waiting for a mass shooting to come out with
propose this.
And that is more disgusting right there. I mean, Tim Murphy has been fighting for his legislation for a long time. And he's very compassionate. He's very passionate about that. And I don't know. I just think, maybe mental health isn't the way to go. Maybe we do need more gun legislation, but can't we have a conversation? Why are and the thing is like, people can say, like, how many more times do we have to wait for this to happen? And I agree with that. But we've never actually had a conversation. We've never actually, every single time this has ever happened, people have just been split right down the line, rigid in their beliefs, and no one has ever.
And then bills just started getting tossed.
And nothing goes through either.
No, never.
Nothing ever happens because everybody is so hard-pressed to defend their goddamn point of view that they're unwilling to even fathom compromising, or even, not even compromising, but even listening to somebody. We're not even talking about compromising or even agreeing with someone. We're even just talking about literally taking 5 minutes to listen to someone else's point of view, but we can't even... people literally shake at the thought of just listening to somebody else.
No, I agree, man.
And we're at that point.
And I mean, the presidential candidates, both of them, how they handled it was just
terrible.
I mean, I'm a Republican, and I honestly am just so upset with how Trump.
Could we have come to a point? Could we have gotten a pair of worse candidates if we tried?
They're both so bad.
If we tried. And it's a shame because when Trump first came out, I liked the idea of him, but...
No, and I watched that press conference like the day after where he like just tore into the Muslims, like was just like ban them and like how many more shootings do we have to have? And
but on the flip side, we have other people who, they're all peaceful and wonderful. Well, I mean, that's not true either. Let's be realistic.
But it is, I mean, there's a lot of stats going around the internet now, and I've been trying to find like the most concrete of them.
Well, people like to say, oh, well, what about this? There's extremists in every religion. It's like, okay, well, right now, and people will like talk about the Crusades and things like that. And it's like, yeah, that happened. That happened hundreds of years ago. This is happening now. Yeah. You can't compare that to this. You could say that Christians back then were terrible. Yeah, but to try to compare something that some racist. I mean, there are a lot of racists. I mean, but I don't know.
I mean, like that kid who shot up that church. He was just like some racist white kid.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, just.
But
crazy
I mean,
Catholic.
I guess it's easy to bully the Christians because they're not going to fight back. You get and people like to act like everyone's grouping all Muslims together. Now, some are, like Donald Trump, but I think most people are being very specific in their definition of extremists versus
and I mean
non-extremists.
The scariest portion of that all is that this guy passed the background. Like they interviewed the guy who owns the gun range and everything.
Yeah,
and he completely followed protocol throughout it, and the guy passed because he was a security guard. And I mean, that's whereas like I mean, as a nation, we need to kind of maybe figure that out a little bit, but. I really, I mean, he proclaimed ISIS. They talked to a lady who survived from the bathroom. But, I mean, do you, like, I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Yeah, it's terrible. So tragic. And I just hope that we, as a country, can actually start to have a conversation and maybe move beyond this. But I thought it would be interesting to get your thoughts because you live there.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, my Facebook, like, the vigil that happened at the Dr. Phillips Center, like thousands of people showed up. That was beautiful. And I mean, I wish I could have been there for it.
And I actually appreciate the reaction coming from the global community more than what
like
we have
France.
Here.
Like, did you see the Eiffel Tower? That's awesome.
And I mean, there are a lot of people here who have done great things. And honestly, usually I hate the thing whenever people change their profiles. I think that's like corny and lame. But in this situation, there is a real chance that somebody knows somebody who's either been involved or lives in the area. So I think in this case it does kind of show some solidarity. So something like that is great. Honestly, the people outside of this country are handling, in many cases, this situation better than we are.
I was about to say better.
Where we are just so quick to, again, push an agenda, and they're actually focusing on the fact that 50 people have just died. And maybe that's a little bit more important than your point of view. We'll wrap the show up next. You're listening to local music here, Pittsburgh's voice for local music here on the River's Edge.